and being able to purchase assets, right? So the first benefit is that each business EIN is treated separately, right? So you as an individual, you have a social security number, you've already gone over EINs for the trust, and each business has its own EIN as well too, right? So that's huge because you can establish multiple businesses and leverage multiple EINs in order to get the funding that you need in order to purchase assets that you want, right? When you're a business and when you're dealing with business funding, you get much higher limits of access to capital, right? You as an individual, you have personal expenses. So it's assumed that when you're dealing with personal funding, that you're going to be a consumer and purchase things that don't generate an ROI or a return on investment, right? But when you're a business, it's much differently. You have operational expenses, you have staffing, right? You're a business, so you're perceived to get a lot more funding, right? Very, very important. Now, the other thing is that business debts do not report to the personal credit, which is very important. Whenever you're growing your business, you want the leverage and the responsibility being on the business and not reporting to your personal credit. I can't tell you how often I meet people, they're business owners, but they're leveraging their personal credit to grow their business. And it's not the most ideal situation to be in. You want the business to be able to get funding and be able to grow your business without it reporting to your personal credit, right? And the other thing is that you can really leverage business funding ultimately to purchase assets from leveraging all of the things that we just talked about, right? So now, what we really teach on is really the ultimate question for this is how would you like to purchase assets and create cash flow without having to risk your own money, right? That's everything that we're going to talk about today. Now, very possible. However, you do have to understand a few key concepts, which I'm going to share with you over the next about 30 to 45 minutes, right? Now, over the next 30 or 45 minutes, I'm going to share with you a couple key concepts, right? And I'm going to show you how to maximize your funding probability when you know what a good credit report looks like and how to structure yours, right? We're going to mitigate disapprovals, right? So we're going to minimize disapprovals and denials, and we're going to increase the amount you get funded when you understand how to structure your business properly, right? Very important. And we're going to show you how to access funding in the most efficient way to fund your business. And oftentimes, with the products that we're going to talk about, you're able to do it at 0% interest and a lot of times with minimal documentation, which is huge, especially in this economy, right? Very, very important. Now, this is perfect for a couple of people who want to do a few things, right? You want to access funding on demand. You want to be able to increase your buying power. You ultimately want to get high limit approvals. You want to create more leverage so that you can purchase more assets and create cash flow. And you want to learn the correct steps to getting funded. Now, funding has become a very popular topic to talk about recently, but it's very, very important that you understand the correct way to get funding, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, for those of you who may be introduced to me the first time, I want to thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be here, but I also want you to understand how much I value your time and why I'm even worthy of any minute of your time, right? So the very first thing is my name is Mr. Dorsey. I am a funding expert and a business strategist. Now, if you want to connect with me, I am most popular and most active on Instagram. You can connect with me there at CEO Dorsey. I do drop a lot of valuable content and a lot of valuable insights to this. Now, I've been an entrepreneur since 2013, right? So I say that to say this. I didn't just, become popular and becoming, just an entrepreneur for fun. I've already made all of the mistakes and I've seen, highs, I've seen lows, I've seen what it's like to, bootstrap my business. And I've also had the experience of being able to fund multiple entities and being able to help a lot of clients get funded and being able to grow your business that way. Would much rather grow my business and entities and teach people how to grow businesses properly, right? We fund millions of dollars annually, right? And we actually fund tens of millions of dollars annually, right? Very, very important because we're going to show you how to do this through experience. We do this every day. We're in the field. We're very active in the industry. And so we're going to show you not what we think is possible, but what we actually implement on a day-to-day basis, right? Now, again, I've already made all of the mistakes. I've spent thousands of hours gaining experience, learning, and really going through the process. I've already made multiple seven figures worth of mistakes. And ultimately I say that because when you learn mistakes, I've learned from experience. And when you're able to learn through the process, you're able to become more valuable because you're able to teach people, and I'm able to teach people the correct information the right way without trial and error, right? And on the left, it's something that I really live by. A mentor is not someone who walks ahead of you. A mentor is someone who walks alongside you and shows you exactly what you can do. And again, because it's based on experience. Now, the old way, the old way of trying to get access to capital and trying to get funding is really taking years of research, using trial and error only to come up with incomplete information, right? You want the exact full process. You want to know what the expectations are each and every step of the way, right? The old way is also trying to earn and save income to reach your dreams and support your family. It's going to take you a much longer time to do so, very possible. But something that I always like to tell people is that when you're looking at funding and you're looking at, oh, if I had 10,000 here, or if I had 50,000 here, I could invest in this, or I could start this business, or I could do this. And the truth is you can fund yourself $100,000 plus a lot faster than most people can earn $100,000, right? Which creates a lot of opportunity, especially when you start to calculate opportunity cost, right? Now, the other old way is constantly being denied or approved with high interest rates, which is really what you don't want, especially in this economy, and using earned revenue to continually invest back into the business. If your business is starting to gain traction, but you're taking all of that revenue to put right back into the business, again, you're missing out on opportunity costs because you're taking all of your revenue and you're putting it right back into the business, right? When you look at the world out here, the wealthy are leveraging OPM and funding and capital in order to purchase their assets and create an ROI. They are not saving, they are not continually investing their own revenue back into their business, right? The new way is empowering yourself with financial education to take back control of you, your business, and your future, because you gain an expert level understanding of the banking system, how to acquire high limit funding, and how to leverage OPM, which is other people's money, in order to build wealth, right? And it's ultimately having a higher status with banks to use them as a tool or an asset for your business, right? You want to use institutions and financial institutions and banks as tools and assets for the best interest of you and your entities, right? Now, there's three categories of clients I work with, and three categories of clients is where this is really beneficial, right? One, the startup entrepreneur who is looking for the exact blueprint in order to fund and grow their business. You want to be able to fund and start your business the right way so that you're not bootstrapping, so that you're not, asking family and friends and things of that nature for capital, and ultimately even potentially taking on investors and giving up equity in your business so that you can get the startup capital to grow your company, right? Also, the business owner who may have some traction, but again, they're taking their revenue and they're investing all of that revenue back into their business. Again, it creates a vicious cycle, and you miss out on so many opportunities by doing that. Now, we also work with the successful 6, 7, and even 8-figure business owners who are ultimately they just want to increase their buying power and increase their access to capital. Now, we're going to get into the foundation of a few key components that actually make this process possible. Now, the foundation of what we're going to talk about is leveraging personal credit to build business credit. You're going to build and establish strong business credit to eventually get to corporate credit. And then you're going to leverage all of this together to eventually get to trust credit. Right now, the foundation of this, the very first step is setting the foundation of your personal credit. Right now, when getting into that, and when you discuss your personal credit, I'm going to show you how to maximize your funding probability when you know exactly what a good credit report looks like and how to actually properly structure yours. Now, we're going to go through this really, really fast. Now, the very first thing here is that all information must line up exactly across all of the reporting agencies. So when you're dealing with the personal side, you're dealing with TransUnion, you're dealing with Experian, and you're dealing with Equifax. Those are the three main credit reporting agencies that we are going to discuss when going through the funding process. Right now, When you're dealing with these are privately owned individual companies, right? Very important that we discuss that because you want one name and one address for instant approvals. This does include employers. You want to make sure that your information lines up exactly across all three credit reporting agencies, because the number one reason that people get denied access to capital, access to funding, is not necessarily because they don't qualify, but it's because of non-matching information, right? Very important. We're going to discuss that in just a second. So when you look over here to the right, again, there's TransUnion, there's Equifax, and there's Experian. So if you look at the name section across each one, right now they all say John Doe, right? Now, it's important that they all line up exactly for name, for your date of birth, for your social security number. Ideally, as mentioned, for your current residency, you really only want one address. If you do have prior addresses, ultimately, you really only want one prior. Now, the reason is because, for example, you may not be you're not the only John Doe out there, right? It could be John A. Doe. It could be John Doe. It could be John B. Doe. The reason I'm saying that is because when you have different variations, the reason I talked about the credit reporting agencies being privately owned companies is because most people believe that, hey, I have a credit score with TransUnion. I have a 700 credit score with TransUnion. I have a 700 credit score with Equifax or TransUnion, but that's not the actual factual truth, right? What it is these are data companies. You don't have credit scores with these companies, you have data. And based on their algorithm, they calculate the strength of that data in order to generate a credit score. But the information has to be aligned exactly so that the data aligns so that they can pull the proper information, right? Very, 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 very important when you go through the funding process, right? When you're looking at your personal credit report and you're looking at the data points necessary, the score, another misconception is that the score is what truly matters when it comes to getting funding, and that's not necessarily true. I've seen people with a 700 plus credit score get denied, and I've seen people with 680 and lower credit scores get approved, and it's because the credit scores when it comes to getting funding does not matter. It's more about the structure of and the information that actually makes up the credit report. Now, I'm going to make it very simple for you. So when you're looking at a couple different factors that matter when it comes to getting funding, if you look over to the left, we're going to go down the list. We're going to look at utilization. We're going to look at inquiries. We're going to look at payment history. We're going to look at credit age, derogatory remarks, and total accounts, right? Now, when you're going across, it's for each individual bureau as a whole. Now, when you're looking at utilization, let me make this very simple for you. Utilization deals with revolving accounts, right? Now, most common revolving account is a credit card. So let me make this very simple. Let's say you have $1,000 credit card. 30%, you're not really, even though you have that $1,000 limit, you're really not supposed to use over 30%, especially at the time of when it comes to applying for funding. Now, to make it simple, if you have $1,000 credit card, 30% of that $1,000 credit card is $300. So at the time of funding, you want to be less than 30% utilization, ideally less than 10% utilization, and that is overall per bureau, and that is also for each individual account if you have multiple revolving accounts. Now, when you're looking at utilization, again, you really want to be between 1 and 29% at the time of the application for funding. You really want to be as low as possible, right? Very important. Now, inquiries, moving on to inquiries. Inquiries don't necessarily hurt your credit score overall, per se, as far as points, but what they do show is, quote unquote, how credit desperate you are, right? So if you have a lot of inquiries in a short amount of time, banks could think that you need money. And the contrary part of it isn't, and the reason that the structure matters is because institutions and banks want to give more money to individuals and entities that don't need the money, as compared to people who actually do need the money, or entities who actually do need the money. So you present yourself and you understand these concepts to put yourself in the best position possible to present yourself to get the funding that you're looking for. So when you're looking at inquiries, it's best practice to really have less than 2 or 3 inquiries within the last 6 to 12 months, right? The least amount of inquiries, the less amount of inquiries, the better. Now, payment history. You need to have 100% payment history. When you're going to look at high limits of funding, again, everything that I'm going to talk to you about is between 100, 200, $300,000 plus in capital. When you're looking for high limits of capital, you need to have 100% payment history, because if the if the institution is looking at you and they want to give you high limits of funding, but you show challenges, or there's challenges reporting that show that you may have had some challenges in the past of managing some funds, it's less likely that you're going to get the funding that you're looking for. So you need to have 100% payment history in order to get the high limits of capital that you're looking for. Now, credit age. They want to see an average age of 4+ years. Now, this is an average age of all of your accounts. You really want to see 4+ years. They want to show that they want to see that you've been able to manage capital and manage credit well over a period of time, right? Derogatory remarks, no derogatory remarks. So we mean no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcies, right? Nothing of that nature, foreclosures, anything of that nature that would signify or signal that you've had any kind of financial challenges, right? Total accounts. You really want to see 10+ total accounts between, revolving accounts, which are, such as like credit cards. You could look at installment accounts like mortgages, auto loans, etc. Right now, it is important to note at the bottom, while these are the ideal metrics in order to get maximum approvals, they are not the absolute determinants for an approval, right? This process, again, just like I talked about earlier, this process focuses less on the score and more about the accounts that actually make up the profile. Now, moving on, because in order for you to really understand where your credit report is, whether your utilization looks like, what your derogatory accounts look like, what your total number of accounts looks like, it's important that you have credit monitoring. Now, the reason credit monitoring is beneficial for a couple different things. Now, there's a ton out there. We can give you plenty of recommendations, right? But these are ultimately going to do a couple things. They're going to give you a full picture of your credit report for all 3 bureaus, right? TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They're going to give you regular updates on your credit scores, which is very important when going through the funding process. You're going to be able to compare your credit reports for any potential discrepancies or clerical errors, right? And when it comes time for funding, it's going to help you manage the timing of the funding applications that you're submitting. Now, some very important statistics to note here is that 35% of Americans really don't regularly check their credit score, and 1 in 5 credit reports has an error. So remember when I talked about earlier, it's not necessarily that people don't qualify for the funding that they're looking for, but it has to do with the non-matching information. 1 in 5 credit, that affects according to the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission, 1 in 5 credit reports has an error. Right now, once you actually have the foundation to your credit report and you actually understand where your credit report is, and based on the data points that I talked about, the next step that you want to do whenever you're looking for high limit funding is you're going to go through a bank selection strategy. Now, the reason that this is huge is because a lot of times when people think about getting funding, right, they're like, okay, I need 50,000. I want to, start up this business, or I want to go purchase this. Oftentimes people think, hey, I'm going to go to one bank. So let's just say someone banks with Truist or, Chase or TD Bank or whatever the case may be. A lot of times when people come to think about getting access to capital, they're like, okay, I'm going to go to one bank. And the truth is that what you really want to do is you want to open up other relationships, right? Other opportunities. There's a couple benefits for this. For one, when you're looking for, let's say, access to $100,000 plus, it's a lot easier to, let's say, for example, go to 4 different banks and get 25,000 than it is to go to one bank and get the $100,000 that you're looking for. So that's the first thing. Still get the total amount of funding that you're looking for with the path of least resistance. My apologies. The second thing is that when you build a relationship, it's all about relationships, right? Relationships in life is everything, but relationships in banking is very important as well too, right? When you build and establish multiple relationships, you're able to build trust with that particular institution. So when it comes to building relationships, especially getting access to capital, the more banks and institutions that you have relationships with and you manage the capital well, the more they want to give you money. So it's a lot better to have 4 or 5 different entities trying to throw you and give you access to capital than you just relying on one entity to give you capital, right? Very important. Now, when it comes to choosing banks, especially when it comes to business funding, the reason you want to have access to your credit report, the reason that you want to compare the data points like we talked about previously, is because you're going to choose banks that align with your strongest bureaus, right? So when you're looking at this, an educational point, there's 3 bureaus: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. When you're going for funding, most banks do not pull all 3 bureaus. They're going to typically pull 1 or 2 of the 3. And when you understand this process, you're going to choose banks that pull from your strongest bureaus to maximize your funding opportunities. The second thing is that if you already, again, relationships are everything. So when it comes to building relationships with banks, it's very simple. It's just having a product with them, whether it's an auto loan, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a personal credit card, a business credit card, right? So many different products. Now, accounts, a checking account, a savings account. This is how you establish relationships with banks. Now, you want to prioritize banks that you already have a relationship with or some form of account with, right? Very, very simple. Now, when you're applying for funding and when you're looking for funding, again, you want to really look at 5 to 10 different banks that are going to best fit your process for the better results. And you're going to get funded from them simultaneously instead of just one at a time. Now, for example, there are hundreds of banks that you could potentially choose from. There are like 4,500 plus banks in the United States as of currently right now, right? All across the nation. So a couple of examples just off the top of my head for the most common ones that we use. If you're looking at banks that pull like TransUnion, I would look at banks like Navy Federal. I would look at banks like US Bank. I would look at banks like Cadence. If you're looking at banks that pull Experian, I would look at banks like American Express, First Horizon, PNC. If you're looking at banks like Equifax, right, you would look at banks like Truist, Chase, and PenFed. And again, there's a lot of banks to choose from. So you would have to determine, you need to choose the best bank that works best for you. Now, when it comes time for getting funding and when it comes the best way to best practices to getting high limit funding, there's a couple different strategies that you're going to utilize. Now, for one, we're going to talk about BRMs, which stands for banking relationship managers. Remember, relationships are everything, especially in business and banking. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about is the long-term funding strategy and the long-term funding benefits of what we're going to talk about when it comes to building business credit. Now, banking relationship managers are the foundation of this. Right now, you're going to hear that term a lot. All that really is a trusted, qualified banker inside of the institution or inside of the institutions or the banks that you're working with. They're going to significantly increase your chances of an approval, but they're also going to help you get dramatically bigger limits, right? Because they are a trustworthy banker and they have a relationship with the bank and they have a relationship with underwriting. We're going to talk a lot about relationships. Now, when you're dealing with business credit, right, this process is going to get you started. Now, first round expectations, when you're looking to do this process, you're typically going to aim anywhere between $100,000 and $250,000 plus in initial funding. Now, that is not where this stops. What you're going to do, you're going to use the capital and you're going to fund your key ventures, right? You're going, for example, you may invest into a business. You may invest in a real estate. You may invest in the stocks, right? Those are just some common examples of some things that our clients use, but there are many examples that you could utilize in order to generate an ROI. Now, What's going to happen is once you establish these multiple relationships at once, the other benefit I talk about using multiple banks at once is because when you go and open up multiple accounts, they're going to help you generate, they're going to report to your business credit, and they're going to help you generate business credit scores. Now, after they age 6 to 12 months of the initial funding, you're going to have a stronger financial standing with multiple entities who've given you large limits of funding, which is going to build your financial credibility, and it's going to help you establish stronger business credit profiles. So what's going to happen is you're going to duplicate the same process that we just talked about. You're going to manage the funding well. You're going to grow the relationships with the banks that you've been dealing with, but you can go establish more relationships. And the benefit to this is where you start to get into compounding and really building relationship upon relationship to establish stronger relationships and set up future funding opportunities. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait 6 to 12 months. You're going to manage your previous funds well, and you're going to duplicate the process. The difference is you're going to expect similar funding results because you have a stronger business credit, and they're going to do what's called comparable credit. The other entities and the other institutions that you're looking for funding from are going to give you funding relative to the already established accounts that you have with established on your business credit, right? So when you do this process over and over, this is how you get access to long-term goals. This is where you get into compounding. You're going to consistently manage the funding well. You're going to consistently purchase assets that create a cash flow. This is how, by duplicating this process, this is how you get access to six figures, multiple six figures, and some of our clients even go on to doing $1 million plus in capital, leveraging these same exact strategies. Now, when it comes to business structure, because when you're going through this, you need to understand how your business structured to present yourself more professionally to the institutions and banks that you're looking for funding from. Now, you're going to increase the amount of funding when you understand how to present your business professionally as compared to being presented as a hobby. Now, the reason this is huge is because a statistic from SCORE is that 82% of businesses fail due to cash flow problems, and 30% of businesses are more likely to survive when they past 5 years when they are structured properly. Now, this is why most businesses get denied, is because they're not structured properly. So we're going to discuss a couple reasons why so that you can avoid these. Now, fundability really is just lender compatibility, right? Again, it's presenting your business as a professional entity as compared to a hobby. Now, you need to be able to divorce yourself from your business. And we're going to talk about some things about this in a second, but you need to be able to divorce yourself from your business. Every business you have needs to have its own separate home or business address. It needs to have its own phone number. It needs to have its own email. It needs to have its own EIN and identification information, right? You need to be able to divorce yourself from your business for best practices. Most applicants also don't structure the foundation for building business credit, right? Again, establishing the relationships and separating themselves from their business is very important with going through this process. Now, most applicants also don't know how to leverage their assets, their income, or their opportunities in order to increase their funding results. And by most businesses get denied because they're not set up with business credit reporting agencies, right? So I'm sure you guys have discussed a lot about it in the trust so far, right? So you need to be able to generate a paydex score. You need to be able to get set up with Dun & Bradstreet. You need to be able to get set up with Business Equifax, Business Experian, and Telescore, right? And a few others as well. Now, the other reason that most businesses get denied is because they don't have accounts with major revolving credit card companies, right? Visa, Amex, Discover, things of that nature, right? And the goal with building business credit is not just to really get an approval, but it's to get an instant approval. In the world of AI and technology, you want to be able to generate instant automatic approvals with AI as compared to going to human discretion, because a human could be biased, right? And when you're dealing with financing, a lot of the financing world, if you were not aware, it's robots and computers. A lot of this, the decision making is AI, it's artificial intelligence, right? And so you want to understand lender compatibility, because when you structure your business the right way, you're able to put yourself in the best position possible to get the funding that you're looking for. Now, here's how the process works. And this is what we're going to discuss, is how to solve the 4 biggest problems that most business owners are facing today, right? Now, it's properly setting up the business to run like a business instead of a hobby. I've mentioned that a couple of times. It's how to find the right funding opportunities who are ready to support you right now. Again, there are hundreds of banks. Every bank has different application rules. Every bank has a different application process, right? One bank's application process and funding process does not dictate the results of another, right? And so by doing that, you want to find the opportunities that are able to fund you right now. And you want to create a proven system to get your business funded with minimal documentation. You don't want to have to jump through a bunch of hoops and all of these different things through a slow process in order to get the capital that you need, right? And it's really ultimately how to make the bank your investors. There's no reason that, so many people in our community talk about, hey, again, if I had 10,000 or 50,000 or 20,000 or 100,000, I'd invest into this and I do this for my family. And a lot of times they're thinking about investors. When you structure properly, you can go to the banks and you can get the funding that you need, and with a lot less challenges, right? So when it comes to setting a professional foundation and presenting your business in the right way. Now, this is from individual to a professional. This is really building a true business and presenting your business in a professional manner, right? Now, we're going to go through it really quick here. We're going to go through here. There's a couple things we're going to discuss. This is if from like from step 1 to 8 would be if you started your business today, but ultimately these apply to whatever entity that you have, whether you currently have an entity, whether you need to update, or whether you need to start a new entity. Right now, you do want to create a business name. Obviously, step 1, a business does have to have a name. You ideally want a business that has a domain that's available. So a domain is just a website. Most common times you can get a website on like Google Domains or GoDaddy, but you want to get a domain for your business and a website, right? That matches your business. Now, the reason you want to do that is because you want to get a business address. So for example, if your business was called ABC Consulting, you would go to GoDaddy and you would get the domain for abcconsulting.com. And then you would set up your domain. So you would set up your name at abcconsulting.com. So for example, if you were Bob, it would be Bob at abcconsulting.com. Looks a lot more professional than Bob's ABC Consulting at gmail.com or Bob's ABC Consulting at yahoo.com, right? It's again, these minor things make a big difference when presenting your business in a much more professional manner. You also want to get a business address, and you also want to get a business phone number. Again, your business is a separate entity from you. So for best practices, you need to separate yourself from that business, right? You want to apply for the Secretary of State. Now, this is something that I wanted to talk about, because when you're dealing with trust, you can absolutely get trust funded and you can go through the same exact process. When you're dealing with private trust, which is a lot of what we talk about in this community, whenever you're looking for funding, you can absolutely get a trust funded, but there's a lot more documentation involved depending on how it's structured, right? So what I teach you to do is I teach you to leverage public entities, or the things that we talk about is leveraging public entities, right? LLCs, corporations, etc. In order to get funding, those entities would go and purchase assets on behalf and in the best interest of the trust, right? So when doing so, it's much easier and much faster to get funding with a lot less documentation when you're dealing with a public entity. So you're going to have an entity established in the Secretary of State. You can do it yourself, right? It's very simple to do it yourself, or there are multiple third-party services. And again, we have a lot of recommendations that we can recommend if you ever need any help. Now, you want a registered agent, just like you talk about in this community. You want to have a registered agent that is authorized to accept mail on your behalf, and you want to create an operating agreement, right? Other thing, step 5, we've obviously talked about this in the community, getting your EIN, right? Walked you through step by step to get you have the EIN for the trust. Very similar process for the LLC or corporations or whatever entity that you use. You do want to get a Dun and Bradstreet just because it makes it much easier to verify your business, and especially if you're getting into government contracts. Now, step 6, it helps a lot better in this economy if you do have some sort of online presence, whether a website, social media pages, etc. Now, a really quick note: when it comes to websites, you don't have to go out and pay a developer hundreds of dollars. You can go on Fiverr for a quick website, and oftentimes you really just need a one-page website. Does a lot better than having no website at all. Now, it's not mandatory, but a website again helps you present your business much more professionally. Now, number 7, it is imperative that you have a business bank account. You must have a business bank account. I cannot tell you how many times I talk to business owners and they still operate finances out of their personal accounts. Your business is a business. Again, you need to separate yourself from your business. Each business needs to have its own separate bank account. Number 8, not necessary for the funding process, but it's something that I always like to talk about and just put out there. If you're building a business, and especially for the long term that you really want to pass down from generation to generation, you really want to be able to trademark the business name, slogans, logos, etc., so that you can protect your intellectual property. So not going to touch too heavy on that, but it's something that I always at least like to mention. Now, when it comes to establishing a business, now there's a couple different ways that you can leverage entities in order to get business funding. So we're going to talk about startups, we're going to talk about age corps, and we're going to talk a little bit about acquisitions, right? So the startup company is a company that you start up, from day one. Now, this provides a couple benefits, and then there's a couple different, things as well too. Now, for one, with the startup, you do get maximum flexibility and creativity in building a business from the ground up, right? You get to choose the name, the business address, the logos, etc., right? And entrepreneurs can create unique offerings, establishing, newly markets, and innovate freely. Now, startups can secure capital. A common misconception is that, hey, I just started up a business and I'm not able to get funding. That is false. If you have a startup and it's structured properly, like we talked about in here, we have seen success with companies getting funding with entities that are at least 30 days old. But it is important to note that the older your entity is, the more trustworthy it is. Therefore, you do get access to higher limits of capital. So the other thing that some clients use is they also use aged corps, right? Aged corps offer an established business entity that has legally been formed previously, right? So it may have been established a year, 2, or multiple years ago. And so when it comes to getting funding, if you're applying with an entity that has a couple years of age, it looks as if that business is presented in a lot better way because it stood a longer time, right? As compared to being 30 days old. So again, you can absolutely get funding with brand new startups, but you get more funding with older entities just because they're older, right? Now, and with older companies, you do get broader access to business credit and financing due to the corporation's age and their credible history. Now, the challenges with age corps, right, is something that you want to make sure. Anytime I talk about age corps, I want to make sure that people are educated to get them properly, because the challenges with getting an age corp is that you need to make sure that if you're dealing with any kind of dormant entity, that you want to make sure that the new business goals align with the entity, the name of the entity where it's established, and you want to ensure regulatory compliance, right? Now, acquisitions, some of my favorite, right? But acquisitions is another way that you can acquire companies and actually get access to capital. You can actually acquire companies and you can fast track growth by acquiring a business that is already performing and that has, established operations and market share, right? The other thing is that, again, you do get immediate access to revenue, trained staff, and valuable customer relationships. Now, when you're dealing with acquisitions, you do need to have a careful evaluation of the business's financial health and smooth integration for the new owner's vision and all parties involved, right? So you can use startups, you can use age corporations or already previously established entities, or you can acquire an already performing business, right? Now, moving on. It's important to note, there are many funding programs out there available. There are many funding products available, but primarily, and we can help you fund a lot of these different things, right? But our focus and everything that we teach on is for the average entrepreneur, right? And for you to be able to get immediate access to capital with minimal amount of documentation possible. So our typical products that we talk about are business credit cards, typically, more specifically, more 0% business credit cards and business lines of credit. Now, when you're looking at these, and we talk about a lot of the structure that we talked about, I want to show you some of the examples that some of our clients are able to achieve when going through this process and some of the things that they're able to do when you lay the foundation. Now, before I do that, I always have to give a disclaimer that past performances do not guarantee future results. Now, but these are some of the strategies and these are some of the results that, again, our clients follow by following a duplicatable process. Now, number one, we look over here to the left. We use a program called Divvy. It's now more often known as Bill. But a lot of people believe that, hey, again, remember, there's a lot of different ways to get financing. So when we are looking at financing, there's typically 3 C's that we include. There's credit, there's cash flow, and there's collateral, right? Now, just because one of those may be challenged doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get access to capital. So the reason I say that is because on the left, this was a client that we had who was in a situation where they already had a performing business, but they were taking all of their revenue and they were investing all of their revenue back into their business. Obviously performing well, but the challenge they had, or the limiting belief they had, is because they had personal credit challenges, they didn't think that they'd ever get access to capital. We use this program, which uses revenue-based financing, and they were able to get a $100,000 approval on their first application, and now they were able to leverage, again, OPM in order to grow their business. And when you're a business that's used to taking revenue and putting all of your revenue back into your business, and now you just got $100,000 of leverage that you can use, that's huge and creates a lot of opportunity, right? Now, the other thing is that, again, when it comes to with age, a lot of people believe, hey, I have a business that's a couple months old. You know, it's only been established for about a year, and a lot of people believe that they're not able to get access to capital simply because of that. And when you look here in the middle, this client had less than a year-old business. It was really only a couple months old, and they were able to get $60,000 approval from one of the biggest lending institutions there are, Chase Bank, and they were able to leverage $60,000 at 0% interest for 12 months in order to grow their business, which is huge for a startup company, right? The other thing is that this was, when you look to the right, this was another huge. Chase is one of our biggest lenders that we use for our clients. And one of our clients, even though they had, really never utilized most, major banks for funding, they were just, again, they already had a performing business. But when they were able to come to us, we were able to get them a $75,000 approval, again, from one of the biggest lending institutions there are, which is huge when when you're growing a business and you're used to, again, just using all of your revenue and growing back in there. Now, the other thing is that when you look at the American Express Business Platinum, it is one of the most prestigious business credit cards on the market. One of our clients were able to grow their limit to $100,000 by implementing a lot of the strategies like we talked about previously. Now, when you look in the middle at Key Bank, this is where I like to highlight multiple products, and this is where I specifically like to highlight the business credit card and the business line of credit. So Key Bank is another one of our lenders that we use. One of our clients was able to go to one bank, get 2 different products. They were able to get the business line of credit for $50,000 and a business credit card for $40,000. They went to one institution and got $100,000 that they could leverage for their business. And then another one, again, this was another business, but they had never used business credit before. So again, it's huge when you're having an established business and you're earning, but you're not leveraging OPM to grow your wealth. They were able to get a $35,000 approval on their first one. Now, the truth is that really these results are predictable, and they're from having a strategy in place that creates easy and predictable results to fund your business 6 figures and multiple 6 figures. Now, again, who is this for? We're going to talk about a couple things. for who is this for, and then it's going to be important for me to talk about who this is not for, especially when we talk about high limits of funding. Right now, this is for business owners who are generating some revenue, but they're tired of using their hard-earned money in order to invest it all back into their business. It's also for the successful business owner already who might be generating 6, 7, 8+ figures, but you want to increase your buying power in order to purchase more assets, right? This is also for the startup entrepreneur who is overwhelmed again with how they're actually going to fund and start up their business. And this is ultimately really for people who love purchasing assets and creating cash flow without having to risk their own money. Now, when we talk about high limits of funding, it's great to talk about who it's for, but it's very important for me to talk about who this is not for as well. Now, this is not for people who possibly are thinking about starting a business or just like the idea of having access to funding and capital. You must already have a goal or a business in mind or started, right? We use capital to purchase assets and create cash flow. We do not use it to create liabilities, right? Very important. It's all about generating an ROI and putting yourself in the best position to purchase assets. Now, this is not for people who make excuses and complain. This is not for people who just want to learn information without being prepared to take action and get results. It's great that we share free information, but great information is really useless unless it's applied. And so when we give out this information, we want to give out a lot of value so that you can take this information and apply it to your life and to your business, right? And this is also not for people who are serious about really receiving an additional 6+ figures in funding. Now, when you do this process, only 2 things matter. I know it seems a little confusing and a little long sometimes with the way that people present it, but there's really only 2 things that matter. 1, setting the foundation to maximize your funding opportunities. 2, getting high limit approvals. Out of everything that we talked about, those are the only 2 things that matter. And you do this by knowing exactly what it takes not to get denied, because when you know why everybody else gets denied, you're going to do the opposite and obviously get a different result, right? And then it's also following a simplified process to achieve consistent and duplicatable high limit funding results. Now, these are the qualifications when it comes to getting funding, right? This is typically what you need. What you need to get funding, the minimum qualifications, right? You need a minimal 680+ credit score across the board. Remember, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You need 2+ major credit cards: Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover. Those are your major credit card. Those are your major credit card distributors. You want 1+ year old credit card, right? At least with a $2,000 limit. No derogatory remarks, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcies, liens, foreclosures, etc., right? No late payments within the last 24 months. Sometimes, again, I know I said no derogatories, but sometimes, depending on your profile, not the credit score, but depending on the structure of the rest of your profile, you can still access capital, but you could not have late payments within the last 24 months, right? So that's a per situation basis based on your specific circumstances, right? No more than three new inquiries within the last 6 to 12 months. You want a 2+ average year history when it comes to business funding. Again, a lot of times when you're going to hear a lot about AUs, which stand in the industry stand for authorized users. Authorized users do not help you for business funding. They absolutely help you for personal funding and personal products, but when it comes time for business funding, they want to see what you have been able to manage as far as your capital in your individual name, right? Very important. Now, no new accounts within the last 6 months. Like we talked about earlier, utilization needs to be less than 30% utilization. The lower the utilization, the better the results that you're going to get. And typically when you're dealing with business funding, whether it's business credit cards or business lines of credit, they're typically going to double your highest personal limit. Right now, what you need to apply, it's actually very, very simple. Basic details about you and your business. You do not necessarily have to generate revenue to get funded. Depending on the institution that you're using, based on the opportunities that you have, you can use projected income based on the opportunities that you have and what you expect to realistically generate, Or you can use a combination of household income, which is anybody in your particular household that is over the age of 18, their finances could be used in consideration to get the funding that you are looking for. Now, what are the next steps? Obviously, you can implement everything that I talked about and you can go and do it yourself. But sometimes, a lot of times when I talk to somebody, again, mentorship and following a trusted process is very important with getting the results that you're looking for. So we offer a couple of different services, right? So what if you had someone that could handle the entire funding process? A system and relationship managers, right, to manage everything from A to Z. And you have an expert team to guide you each and every step of the way to ultimately get you the funding that you're looking for. Now, there's actually 4 steps, and it's much, much easier than you think, right? So number one, when you work and you go through this process, the first thing that you need to do and the first thing that we do on your behalf is that we review your we do the personal and credit business audit. We review your personal information and your business information to possibly identify any potential issues or fix any discrepancies prior to going through a funding process. The reason that the credit monitoring service is important, the reason that reviewing your business information is important, because you want to review this information before you go through the funding so that you can verify you don't have any issues, so that by the time you start the funding process, you're in a position where you know you're in the best position possible to get the funding that you're looking for, as compared to hoping that you're going to get the funding that you're looking for, right? So that's step one. Step two is actually structuring your funding sequence. So it's building a custom list of banks to plan the exact submission for the best approval odds, kind of like that sequence that we talked about earlier, prioritizing banks. It's executing with relationship managers. So we already have hundreds of bankers and in our network that work at various institutions across the nation, and they will actually review and submit your information on your behalf, which maximizes those approvals. And then 4 is the capital management plan. So it's important to get funding, but it's important to know how to manage it, and it's important to know how to grow it. And so we actually help with ongoing strategies in order to manage the funds, and we even give you exclusive access to a community where we talk all about business credit, personal credit, and different funding opportunities, right? Now, when you work with us, our goal is to fund you $100,000 plus. And this is how we make it happen in the fastest time possible, right? So 1, you're going to submit your information, your personal and business. We verify that information and create a pre-approval qualification. We discuss the first steps necessary to get you funded. That's the most important part of this. The very most important thing when it comes to getting funding, the results are great, but it's ultimately you need to figure out the very first steps for you and your particular situation in order to get funded. Then we create a custom sequence based on your individual goals, and then we run the play leveraging our funding resources. Now, support, when you're dealing with us, support typically takes 12 to 48 business hours. We communicate with you via text and email. But anytime that you may be missing some information, or we are primarily email, so you need to make sure to review your spam and your promotional folder. Now, again, after you go through the process and you get a review, you get a personal one-on-one strategy session with either me or someone else on my team to determine your first steps to get funded. Again, the results are great. The final results are great, but there is no one-size-fits funding strategy for everybody. The first steps that you need to take vary from every other individual or every other business that we work with. And so it's ultimately the biggest thing is figuring out what first steps you need to take to get funded, regardless of what current situation or what current issues that you may be facing. Now, whenever 7 Ways and Christina, they have a link, they have a referral link below, and she's actually can put that in the chat. You're going to use that link to submit your information. And ultimately what we do, again, is we help you figure out what first steps you need to take in order to get funded for your particular strategy. Now, this is not something that we really need to go over here, but you, as mentioned, you will get a copy of this presentation. At the end of it, it will have some links in there for some complimentary resources, right? So the funding development consultation, this is what we just talked about. We will have 7 ways link in there, and that is where you can actually use that link to submit your information and get in contact with our team. The other thing on the resource page is we give you a complimentary Credit Made Simple ebook, which is going to give you, practical. It's going to take all the information that we talked about today, put it in detailed, simplified information for you, and give you establishable and actual actionable steps in order for you to establish and strengthen your credit report, right? When you get to the resource page, the names are clickable. So all you'll do is click where it says funding development consultation, or you'll just click where it has the Credit Made Simple ebook, and it will take you to their respectable links. Now, of course, like I said, we went really fast and we covered a lot of information. I always want to make sure at the end to make sure time for Q&A. So I did allow for some time today to clear up any questions or concerns that you may have. And so I will take the time now, and I have about 20-ish minutes in order to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dorsey, for just coming in and educating the community. Oh my God, you dropped so many gems. It's crazy. That's from like Notepad, you guys. Like you know how they say note takers are money makers. So that's the truth right there. Because when I tell you I bring the best of the best in the industry to educate you guys, that's the truth. So let's go ahead and open up the floor for Q&A because his time is limited and precious, and I want you to get your questions answered, you guys. So the first hand that I see is Dina, Miss Dina, and then we're gonna go to who is it? Keith. All right, go Miss Dina, how are you?
I can go. Fine. Good to see you again. Mr. Dorsey, I have been trying to get in touch with you. I don't know whether you see that I've been communicating back and forth, and each time I try to get on the My Score, I have a problem. They even advised me to give them the login information of how I'm logging on, and that's the problem. I can't log on. Even when they asked me to reset the password, I did that also, and it still didn't work. So I'm wondering, is there another way that I can get in? I mean, this is such a silly problem to have. I just want the credit score so I can move forward, and I can't get it. I can't get it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I have the same problem. Yeah.
So, okay, so great thing. So My Score Now, we don't control My Score Now. They're a separate credit monitoring service, which is, so we don't actually provide a credit report, but that's just the main one that we use, and typically our clients don't have issues. But yes, there are multiple other platforms that you can use. So I'm not sure what should happen is if you communicate with my team and you communicate that My Score Now might not be working, then I would say DM me personally just so that I can look into it. But they should have sent you multiple other recommendations. And the other thing that they should do is, if you're having issues and you communicate, they should schedule you with a intake so that we can actually walk you through whether we use My Score Now. There are, Identity IQ, or if you even have an Experian account, we can walk you through how to set up your Experian account as well, just so that you can get access to the credit report, because that's the only thing that we can't do is we can't actually give you the credit report. So we just have to use different platforms in order to get access to it. But if you'll send an email today, let them know that you were on here. Let them know that you just can't get My Score Now at all, and that just let them know that you don't want to use My Score Now. And they will be able to either best advise you, either send you a list, or they'll get you scheduled so that we can actually walk you through one-on-one to use a different platform so that we can get access to it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I just put his Instagram in the chat. Dorsey, do you want me to put your email in the chat as well?
If you would just put not my personal email, just because my personal email gets flooded. But if you'll put contact, I'll actually put it in there right now. Manually.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. All right. So next we're gonna move on to Keith, the cryptopreneur. It's the name for me. All right, Keith.
Good afternoon. I just want to say, Mr. Dorsey, Where were you about 8 months ago? It's my first comment. Um, I was going through the process with another organization, and unfortunately, we didn't have much success, and which I've kind of found out why now after the fact. But the point I want to make is, as a result, I had a real estate project I was working on, and in order to get it completed, I literally had to use my personal credit card. So to go back to your point about utilization, I have very high utilization right now, so it's affected my personal credit score. So while I'm looking forward to moving forward with the process, I just want to put that out there up front that I know that I got to get that down, and I do have some funds for another project coming to me relatively soon. And my goal is to use those funds to quickly knock those cards down to below the 30% limit, get them down to maybe 20%, et cetera. So at that point, I think I'll be in position to maybe move forward, but I still want to go ahead and register with you. But I want to put that out there up front in full disclosure, and move from there. But everything I've heard, I'm very excited. Like I said, I just wish I'd ventured forth with your project several months ago. I'd be much further along right now. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And like I said, we would love to help you figure that out. And that's why I say everything that we do is educational first. That's why I say, regardless of where you're at now, we are able to fund, well, real estate is the primary industry that we work with, for one. So I just want to, let you know that that's not, an uncommon issue in the industry, to say the least, right? That is the primary industry that we fund. But the second thing is, everybody starts in a different position, right? And that's why I say there's no one size fits all funding strategy for everyone. The most important thing is, even if you think that you're not ready today, we can help you figure out the first steps in order to get funded. So even if you're not ready to get funded right now, we can help you come up with a game plan, a realistic time frame, budgets, etc., and create different things to help you get to the plan or the ultimate goal that you're looking for. So the very first thing that I always say is, again, just submit your information so that we can ultimately figure out the first steps in order to help you get funded.
Excellent. We'll do. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I look forward to seeing you on the inside as well.
Yay, awesome, awesome. Love to see it. So next we have Miss Alania Bay.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Awesome. Good to see
Alright.
you again.
Okay, yes, Mr. Dorsey, I had tried the last time you came on, I tried to get in touch with you, just like the other lady who was saying, and I couldn't get past the score part. So what I did, I went to FICO, because I have FICO, I get my FICO scores, and I just did a screenshot, and I tried to upload it, but it wouldn't go either. I'm like, man, I can't get this thing going. So I'm glad you gave us your information. I am now following you on Instagram, so you
Perfect.
won't get away from me now. So I know how to can get to email you now or DM you at this time. But before, I didn't know how to reach you to let you know what had happened. But that's what happened. I couldn't get past the score. I couldn't send it to you. So I said, oh, well, he'll be back. So
Well,
thank you.
thank
Thank you very much. And I'm looking for startup funding, just like the other gentleman who was talking. I've damn near utilized all my personal credit with Navy Federal Credit Union. However, I have never missed any days of payments. Don't have any blemishes. They keep telling me I have exceptional score, but I'm like, that's not helping. It's helping me, but my utilization is still high as I don't know what. So I'm still trying to handle, I can't do anything but pay them because not paying them is not an option. So at least not at this time until I learn how to access my account, as a beneficiary, because I am planning on liquidating all of my accounts with the corporations. I'm at the point where I'm getting ready to be an individual. Well, I am an individual banker with a private estate and trust now. So I have a foreign grantors trust also. I have, like I was saying, I'm leveraging Mutual of Omaha, and you know, they have the IUL. I can't borrow for them for at least a year, I think, because it's been about 6 months now. But you know, it's a start, and I do have property that my family left, and it's just been put into my name. So now I have to get ready to put it in the trust name and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I've been rolling right along. I'm just couldn't get in touch with you on the score part, you know, and but is that a thing that I have to email the whole uh credit you know, thing that I have, like if I'm with Experian, do I have to, you know, show you all the everything, or do I
Great
just
question.
show you the score? I'll just
Great
everything.
question.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So don't make any assumptions. The first thing I would say is if you get stuck with any kind of like technical issues, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes,
Okay,
I can
okay,
hear you.
okay, perfect. You kind of froze for a second. Now, the
I'm
first thing I
sorry.
would say is don't make any assumptions if you're having technical issues. Communicate with us and let us know, because like I said, it's not common for people to have issues with my score now. But again, there's a lot of other platforms that we can use, especially if you do have experience. So they can actually schedule you if you're having technical issues and you communicate that you're having technical issues. They can actually
Mhm.
get you scheduled one-on-one so that we can actually walk you through, hey, we can get the access to the credit report here, etc. So I would say
I'm
the
gonna
first.
probably need the one-on-one because I did you had put the website in the chat, and so I went on and signed up for it. So I look forward to hearing from someone from your
Okay,
team.
perfect.
But I
You
did
will.
sign up.
And like I said, if you have technical issues, let them know ahead of time, and they can get you scheduled for one-on-one to actually walk you through it.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course, you're very welcome. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you,
Okay,
Miss Bay.
thank you. I look forward to. I'm trying to get this show on the road.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, next we have BJ.
Hey, I got a question.
Good afternoon.
What is your cap on funding? Is it 4 units or less, or do you go above 4 units?
So as far as you mean as far as real estate?
Yeah.
So great question. So as mentioned in here, there's a lot of funding. There's a lot of funding programs available. Here we primarily just talked about business credit cards or business line of credit. Now, there's really not a limit on funding. We can do minor deals with this business credit cards, business line of credit. We can fund real estate deals. We can fund commercial deals. We can fund residential. We can do equipment financing. We can fund mergers and acquisitions. So there's really not. I say all that to say that there's not really a limit on funding. It just depends on your particular deal, your particular opportunities, etc. But there's not really an amount of funding that's limited depending on the deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I notice with a lot of people, they mostly say they only going to go up to about 4 units when doing something. That's
We
why
can,
I asked.
yeah. So we can do a lot more than that. Absolutely. It's just that again, we would need to know the more specifics and nuances of your particular situation based on personal credit, business credit, location, etc.
All right, cool. That ain't a problem. Thank you.
Of course.
All right, thank you, BJ. Ben has a question in the chat. He said, how much does this service cost?
Great question, Ben. So everything that we do, so primarily everything that we do is educational based. Now, the primarily what we want to do is help you figure out the first steps in order to get you funded. Now, if you decide to work with our services, phenomenal question. We are a performance-based organization, so we don't believe in charging upfront fees. We don't believe in making empty promises. We're a performance-based organization. What that means is that when you are ready for the funding, when you're ready for the funding process, we're not going to charge you any upfront fees to do so. You get a full-time support team. You get a full-time support team. You get access to all of our relationship managers and bankers. After you get access to the capital, after you have access to the funds, we earn a 10% performance-based commission of the total amount funded. So that would be how the service costs if you decide to use our services. But everything that we do is, like I said, primarily helping you figure out the first step in order to get you funded.
Perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right.
I
Any
think
other
that's fair. That's awesome.
fair and
Absolutely.
square? Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, 10% is, I mean, and then you're not charging until you do get funded. I mean, that's a great.
Absolutely. And like I said, you get full-time staff, two-way communication, all of our bankers, et cetera. So we manage all the risk, all the, upfront costs, and then we take it through, and then we only charge after you get access to the funds. So yes, ma'am.
Outstanding. I like that because everybody usually charges and nobody really has the money because that's the point we're trying to get funded. But
Of course.
I really appreciate that because it's like I've been knocking my head against the wall trying to figure out how to do this, but you just opened up a new can of worms. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
You're
You're very
welcome.
welcome.
Next we have Ramona. Oh wait, Miss Sonia, are you wanting to ask a question?
Yeah, do you not see my hand been raised?
No,
Can you see
no, it
what's going
wasn't
on?
raised, but I know. Okay, go ahead, Miss Sonia, and then we're gonna go to Ramona and then Renata.
Okay,
Go ahead, Miss
Mr.
Sonia.
Dorsey. Okay, Dorsey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are
Look,
you?
okay, I'm grandfathered in with credit secrets, so I cleaned up my own credit pretty much.
Okay. Okay.
I'm looking.
I got that book.
Huh?
I
Yeah, I
got
bought that
that
book. I bought that book 5 years ago, so I'm grandfathered in at the low cost. So
Awesome.
I get it. So, and I cleaned up my credit and I had a few things on there. They told me that I couldn't remove was, like an address. Like I never lived there. So we went back and forward, but they would never take that off. So I'm gonna sign up for your program and see if we can get that removed. So I did get like a lot of stuff moved just off my cover page. And that right there increased my scores about 50 points. So
Awesome. Awesome.
So I mean, I got tired of paying, so I did it myself, but I'm ready to get funded for some real estate. So I got some
Awesome.
projects. Matter of fact, I got a lady just sent me 4 properties and I gotta get funded for. So I'll be calling you. One
I
more
love to
sign
hear
up.
that. I love to hear that. And like I said, regardless of whatever you're, currently dealing with, submit your information. And like I said, we will be able to figure out what first steps we need to figure out. And if there's anything on there that, shouldn't be on there, we can definitely help you get that, dispute that and get those inaccuracies and inaccurate information removed.
So you'll take my credit report from ScoreSense. I think we pull from ScoreSense. So you
Yes,
take
ma'am.
your report
Yes,
from
ma'am.
there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we are not limited on which platform we take the credit report from. We just need to be able to see all 3 bureaus, which are TransUnion,
Okay.
Equifax, and Experian. But regardless of the platform, doesn't really particularly matter.
I got you. Appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Miss Sonia. Next we have Ramona.
Okay, hello.
Good afternoon.
So the ultimate goal is after you build your personal credit is to then be able to transition this into funding your trust. So building your business trust credit. So the question is, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this, use other people's money. I do come from the school of David Ramsey where I don't like debt. So I'm trying to get comfortable with this concept. So would I use this funding for things like I did purchase a rental unit and it needs some fixing up. Would I use business funding for that?
Renovations, yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. So you're just building debt. I know I'm trying not to look at it negatively because I know in the end you're supposed to use other people's money, but how are you making sure you're going to be able to pay off all this debt that you're accumulating?
So that's why I talk about in the beginning, that's why I said it was very important to talk about who this is for. So we only want to get you funded if you have business endeavors or business investments that you're looking to invest into. So We can help you in getting access to capital. It's your investment, or what you invest the capital in is really up to your discretion. Now, the way that we talk about whenever leveraging, this might help you out a little bit. So there's personal credit. So what we talk about is personal credit, leveraging the personal credit in order to fast track business funding and generate business credit scores. Now, what happens is business credit is the same way as personal credit. So let me make an example. Let's say the most common scenario that people are used to is, let's say you have personal credit, you're just starting out, you want to go buy a car. What's going to typically happen is they're going to ask you for a cosigner, right? So that you can get approved for the car. It's going to help build that credit, but for the person who needs the cosigner, but they're going to need some time to do it. Same thing with business funding. You're leveraging personal credit to establish business funding and fast track business credit. Now, what's going to happen is after you get those accounts reporting to your business credit, now you've got to strengthen those relationships over time. So that's that 6 to 12 month process that we talked about. But what's going to happen is as you continually build out your business credit profile, you're going to make it stronger. So you're going to make it more credible. Eventually, what's going to happen is your business credit eventually goes to corporate credit. After you build a strong enough after you build a strong enough business credit profile where the business is credible to get financing on its own, that's when you transition into corporate credit. Trust credit is the same exact way. Trust credit is credit that you build strong enough on those business credit profiles in order to get financing for your trust. Now, for clarity, I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, but what I talk about is business funding. So what I'm talking about is leveraging not necessarily your trust. You absolutely can get your trust funded. It's a little bit more paperwork involved, but you can get your trust funded. Now, for me personally, in my strategy, I don't like to have the risk on my trust. So I leverage public entities such as LLCs or corporations to access business funding that are controlled by the trust. And then I use those public entities, those funding, in order to go purchase the assets in the best interest of the trust. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, yes, I follow you. Okay.
So that's how I leverage it to strengthen credit profiles and access to bigger capital, more capital in the future.
Okay. And does your documentation, or maybe on the 7 Wealth documentation, have how to get your business on DNB? Or is
Yes. Yes, it should. So now trusts are a little bit, now the trust that the trusts that are taught typically in this are private trust. So yes, you absolutely can build those, profiles. But if you need information on how to establish DNB or how to establish business profiles to public entities, we do have specific content, resources, and training for that we can give you as far as the public entities.
Okay, yes, because I have business credit. I have 2 properties and credit card limits maybe up to about 50,000. But
Awesome.
I don't think I've ever been on. I don't know if you have to apply to have your business on there, because I don't know if it's reporting at all.
Okay. Yes, then every bank differs. Some banks report, some banks don't. So that's why I say there's a lot of different potential banks to use. So based on, for me to best advise you, you'd have to be able to, you would have to submit your information just so that we can look at your personal credit and your business credit to really best advise. But if you do need to establish a PAYDEX, then that's absolutely something that we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. All right, next we have
Renetta.
Renetta.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Dorsey, for your time and your education.
Very welcome.
I had went to U.S. Bank and put in for to open up an account for my LLC, and they gave me a credit card, and I asked them if they were going to use my EIN number, and they said yes. I was not trying to use my personal. They gave me the credit card, like $27,000 on the spot, but when I got my Credit Karma, they gave me a hard inquiry on my personal. Have you ever heard of that? And is there I called them and I asked them to take it off, and they said they couldn't because now they use people's social security with a bank with their business. Is that correct?
So it depends on the lending institution. Every lending
Okay.
institution is different. That's why I say the
Okay.
application rules vary per bank. Every bank does not have the same application process or the application rules. Now, there's just like I talked about a second ago, everything that I talk about is business funding. So we fast track leveraging the personal credit in order to get business funding. So when they do that, they're going to check your personal credit because again, you're kind of the co-signer. It's kind of like that example I was talking about a second ago. If you don't have strong enough business credit to get funding on your own, then you're going to leverage your good personal credit to get business funding or to get business funding and establish business credit to eventually get the corporate credit. But what's going to happen is they would inquire on the personal, so you would get the hard inquiry, but the funding is in the EIN, so it should, if you go to the right bank and they chose the right product, they would not report the card or that information to the personal credit report. So the inquiry would show up on there because they're checking the credibility of your personal credit, but the account, depending on the bank or depending on the bank that you choose, should not report to your personal credit. Does that make sense?
Yes, so this should be helping my credit because I didn't have business credit. So now that credit card is like helping my business credit.
Correct, because it's going to report as it because that card. So that I think you said 27,000 or 23,000.
Yes.
So now that $27 account is going to be reporting as an unsecured, well, depending on the bank. So that's why I keep saying depending on the bank, but structured properly. If the bank is correct, that $27,000 credit card should now report as an unsecured account to your business credit report. So that's what I was talking about earlier. You get, one, now you get multiple. That's how you establish those relationships. And after you let those accounts age 6 to 12 months, when you go and get more business funding, they're going to see those comparable limits and those unsecured accounts on your business credit profile, which make it a lot more credible over time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And thank you. I'm going to sign up for your.
Of course. You're very welcome.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Next we have iPhone. I don't know who this is. iPhone.
Hi, Christina. This is Ruby. I'm
Oh,
on
hi,
the road.
Ruby.
That's why you don't see my name up there. I had to use my phone.
All right. Thank you, Ruby.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I was this is not pertaining to the young man that's doing what he was just speaking on about the business credit, but you had sent me something for one-on-one for the getting your trust together, and I was wondering if you're still doing that.
Oh, the one-on-one private sessions?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Yeah, we can talk about that. I will reach out to you. We can talk about that offline because I want to be respectful for Dorsey's time. So
Absolutely. I was trying to get in before, but I was working and doing other stuff. This was the first time I was able to jump in. But thank you.
Okay.
I would have liked for you to contact me with that.
Okay. All right. What's your last name? I'm gonna look you up and then I'll call you after the workshop is done.
Sure, Ruby Parker.
Okay, got you, Ruby. Thank you. All right, next we're gonna go to Jasmine.
Okay, my question is, for over a year now, I've been working to lower my credit utilization. It was really high, upwards like 80%. So now I got it down to less than 40%, but that's still over that threshold of 30%. So would you recommend that I go ahead and sign up with your company now, or wait till I get that down even further? Or is there something you could help me with? Like even now, I check it every week for the last year or so, and now I'm down to 41% utilization. And credit-wise, there's nothing else really. I have on-time payment, excellent. Everything is excellent. No, my biggest issue overall these last 2 years was my high level of utilization, and I wasn't aware of that until like a year ago. So what do you recommend? Should I go ahead and start with your company now, or wait till I get this 41% a bit lower?
Phenomenal question. So I would say go ahead and submit your information now, because just like I say, even if you're not ready for funding now, after we see it, there could be some strategies that we could utilize, because the most common issues that are easier for us to solve in the short term are credit utilization and inquiries. So if those are your, if one of those are really your only two challenges, there's a lot of different strategies. There's a lot of different ways that we can structure the deal in order to get you the funding that you're looking for. And oftentimes we can really fast track that a lot faster than what you may currently be thinking. Now, but again, for me to best advise you, it would be best for you to submit the information now, just so that we can see everything, and then we can actually determine what first steps you need to take in order to get funded. So I would say now, just so that we can help you. And then that way, even if you do have to make some adjustments, you're making more intentional actions and adjustments in order to fast track that process.
Okay, I would like to say I have two LLCs. One is my operating business, and the other one is like what I call a holding company. And I was not able to get any credit with the operating business that I actually have monies coming in through sales, but through my holding company, through Capital One, I was able to get a year ago. They have like a starter thing. They put me on a low credit limit, but they did approve me for a business credit limit of like 2,000. So I have been using that and paying it off every week or so. But that is not one of mine at a high utilization. But I just want to say, but I wasn't able to get credit on the company, the LLC that I actually make sales on. So I thought that was weird.
That could be varying for a couple different factors. But once we see the information, you should have no issue funding, whether you're a holding company or your active company.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Dorsey.
You're very welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, any other final questions or concerns or comments for Mr. Dorsey? We're going to be respectful of his time. Any other final questions, comments, concerns? All right.
Yes, I have one.
All right, go for it. And I think Barbie has one too. Okay.
I was just going to ask, how is this information secured that you guys receive? Because I take it you're getting socials and everything. How is this secured on your end?
So we actually don't get the socials. You maintain all of that. Now we do keep everything data security encrypted and everything, but we actually don't store your socials, which is why you actually download a copy of your credit report and send it over to us. The only time that we deal with socials is whenever you're actually introduced to one of the reps that we work or that we would work with at the particular bank that you look at. But we actually do not take any of your social security numbers at all, which is why we have you set up the credit monitoring, you download your credit report, and then you send it over to us.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Of course, you're very welcome. Great question.
And yeah, good question. And then we have Barbie.
Hey. Can you guys?
Hey.
So, Mr. Dorsey, I'm so glad that you're on here, and that was really some good info to say that you guys kind of like do the work, then you take it, because we do start off with really not having much. So I really appreciate that. I would like to know, because I have another group that I'm a part of that deals with chef corporations, and I could have some people that I can refer to you, and I'm trying to find out how, is there an affiliate program with you like it is like Miss Christina?
Yes, we do have an affiliate program as well that we absolutely could discuss. Would love to help you with that.
Okay, good. Because I've already told somebody in a text message about you while you're talking.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Yeah.
She's spreading the word.
So I would say thank you for doing that. I would say submit your information through Christina's link first. Let's get in contact. Let's get everything scheduled, and then you and I can discuss all of those opportunities one-on-one, and then get you set up properly.
Okay, because I've already I've not made an appointment, but I have went onto your website. I'm
Awesome.
following you on Instagram, and I've already set up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So Barbie is on fire, okay? You can't stop her.
No, ma'am, you are absolutely right, Miss Christina.
Yeah, she unstoppable. Okay. Thank you, Barbie. Laquita, do you have a question? I see you off of mute. Do you have a question?
Sorry, no.
No? Okay, all right. Zelamir?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I want to just thank both of you so much, Christina, and also you, Mr. Dorsey. Awesome, awesome presentation. Really appreciate the information. And I just had a couple, thank you. I had a couple questions. One is, I see that you help us to gain access to funding. Do you also give us strategies and help with how to basically manage that credit we get, and also to leverage it to build more credit and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So whenever you get, a couple things. So you will get a copy of this presentation, and you'll get a recording. So one of the things that I talked about in there is, after you go through the funding process, you actually do get added to a community where we educate a lot about personal credit, business credit, and then ways to build your business credit and establish and access to more capital in the future as well. So yes, after you go through the funding process, we have a coaching community where we're very active in, and we also meet weekly in order to help you on those strategies.
Okay, awesome. And I have a question. Do you know anything about, or do you recommend or not, like strategies as far as leveraging credit and balance transfers to be able to utilize capital in certain areas, with your credit card, as far as like credit cards that don't have, you get the credit cards and there's no interest for like up to a year, and you're able to move money to be able to leverage it. Do you teach those type of strategies as well?
Yes, sir. So we don't typically, last question. I've got like two more minutes. So I'm going to make this like really, really quick. So yes, there are strategies. So whenever you're dealing with 0% cards, a lot of them come with introductory from 12 to 18 months. Now, we don't necessarily use balance transfers, but we show you how to liquidate, especially working with real estate investors, just because they need a lot of access to cash. So we do show you how to take the business credit cards that you do get and liquidate those cards without paying, the cash advancement fees, and still maintaining 0% interest, so that you can have access to the cash for whatever investments that you do need to make.
Okay. I'm so awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Oh, too. All right. Okay, Mr. Dorsey has 60 more seconds. Miss Bay, do you have one final question? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yes, I'm sorry. Are you affiliated also, Mr. Dorsey, with Christina's Bosses program? Are you on that team?
I'm in the community. I don't recognize the Bosses product.
No, the School of Bosses is different. It's not 7 Ways to Wealth. So
Okay.
he's
okay.
I'm not sure what that is.
I was just asking because I know, he seems like he could be part of that team, because your School of Bosses is basically behind the scenes teaching us exactly how to deal with the trust. Is that correct, Christina?
It's teaching you how to run an online business. So it's a little bit different. It has nothing to do with credit or anything like that.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he was with the team because he just seems so knowledgeable.
Yeah, he's the best, and that's why I brought him here. So I just want to say thank you so much to Mr. Brian Dorsey, the CEO of the Funding Playbook, because he really came and showed up and showed out for the community today, and I'm so grateful. I hope that you guys took notes. So thank you so much, Mr. Dorsey. I know that your time is so valuable and limited, and I know that you have another appointment after this. So thank you so much to everybody in the community. Go ahead and click on the affiliate link so that you can get in contact with Mr. Dorsey and his team, because they are here to help you, okay? They personally help me and a lot of other people in our community, and him and his team is here to help you as well. Get this up and running so that you can leverage OPM. That's what it is, okay? We're not using our paychecks anymore. We are leveraging the banks, and that's how we're going to get rich. And Mr. Dorsey is going to help us because he has a proven track record, okay? So thank you so much, Mr. Dorsey. I appreciate you so, so, so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Every time I'm here, I will be inside of the community. You guys will get a copy of this and a recorded thank you as of later, and I look forward to seeing you guys very soon.
And I'm Classy Lady on Instagram, so make sure you follow me back.
Perfect. I will see you all soon.
Ms. Bay got a shameless plug in there. She like, follow me back. All right,
I gotta keep plugged into all of the people that's got some knowledge,
Yeah, I know, that's the truth. I cannot with Miss Bay. Listen, I'm so glad that you guys are part of the community, okay? Because you guys are gonna get to know each other, including Miss Bay, okay?
That's right. I'm coming right behind you, Miss Bay. I'm coming right behind.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I did want to show you guys something quickly. I know that Ramona had a really valuable question, which was, do we show you guys how to set up the business credit profile? Yes, we do. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of things. And then if you have any final questions for me, and then we will wrap it up for the day, you guys. And tomorrow is our final day of the workshop. I'm super excited. Okay. Because we're going to get to the nitty gritty. Okay. So let me show you a few things. And then I will open up the floor for any questions that you have regarding the trust and anything that we went over today. So let's see here. I wish I was a little bit more tech savvy. Oh gosh.
Keep on practicing. You'll get there.
Right. I'm like,
can you put in your chat about the School of Bosses? Can you put that in your chat?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Ms. Bay.
Get all of us in there, Christine.
Yes, I know. It's a lot going on in this community, you guys. So the School of Boston is just one of the many things that we have in our wheelhouse here. But where is this page that I'm looking for? My goodness, hold on. I think I'm gonna have to. Oh, here it is. Okay, awesome. All right, 1 second. Let me pull this up, because I'm a visual learner. And the way that I teach you guys is visual too. So I teach you the way that I want to learn, okay? So this is the program, okay? This is where you guys, when you guys go to log into your portals and you see the Wealthy Trustee program, you go and click here. So Ramona's question is, do you guys show a step-by-step on how to set up the DMB? Yes. And how to build the business credit? Yes. So if you go log into your portal, because there's only so much that we can show you guys or do in the workshop. Our time is limited, right? And so I have hundreds of hours of training for you guys, but I can't spend hundreds of hours on the workshop with you. So the workshop is only for the most vital, important stuff, which is the trust and transferring assets. All the other stuff, you have to go to the portal. So I would say only 50% of what's in the portal is what we go through in the actual workshop. So the portal has more information and all the resources that you need. So you need to leverage the portal, okay? This is where you're going to be learning everything. So Ramona's question was about the foundational stuff, right? So what I need you to do is you go to where it says wealth creation. So you scroll down almost all the way to the bottom, and then you go to wealth creation. The first video that you see on wealth for your trust or building credit for your LLC or your corporation is the same process, okay? So what I want you to do is go right here and click on this. Once you click on this, then it's going to bring up the video. Where is it? I don't see it. Reading the following attachment files. Okay, I don't know where the The video is supposed to be there. I don't know where it is. Okay, I'm gonna check with the team. So it's your building business credit video is supposed to be there. If it's not, then I'm gonna go ahead and double check with the team. And then you have your files, which is the corporate care, the trust corporate care, the net 30s, and the business credit. Billionaire business credit blueprint, right? So you're going to go ahead and access that information as well. So let me pull up the credit one. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. It's also in the recording. So hold on, let me pull that up too. One second. Let me find it. Let me go back. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Okay, one second. Okay. Let's see here. Preview. There we go. Okay, share, boom, boom. Okay, so when you guys access the recordings, one of them is where we're talking about the trust corporate credit. So you can go to the other side where it says the workshop recordings and go to like the initial ones. And you'll see here, so hold on, let me go. You want to put hold on. Your paydex score would start putting, let me see where business straight companies. So the first thing solely you. Okay, so here, wait, hold on. I'm just trying. So now we are officially in the DUNS number application. All right, so this is one of them, but the training video is there. I just need to be able to find it, but it's here. I just wanted to show you guys an example of us going through the step-by-step on how to set up the DMB. So one second, let me see.
That's what I have to do, the DNB.
And as the trustee, fit in the box, put the. Okay, let me see. Okay, so this is us actually going through the whole process, and it wasn't worth it for me. So that, hold on. You do not have to do that. The done stuff. So sometimes you want to. Okay, so this is just an example of just for me to show you guys that the training is in there, okay? So how to get your DUNS number. I show you step by step how to get it and how to go through the application and what to put in the application, how to set up your profile, all of that stuff, right? So this is the actual application. We go step by step, okay? So that's one thing I wanted to show you. The second thing I want to show you is the trust corporate credit. Hold on, trust corporate credit, and then we can dive into questions. All right. One second. So in your resources that you guys received today, one of them is the trust corporate credit, which teaches you how, this is the written version of teaching you how to set up your profile, okay? So in this, what you do is you have access to this information, okay? So we educate you on the foundational stuff that you need to start building the business credit. So we show you that there's 3 credit bureaus, right? Experian, Equifax, Dun & Bradstreet. You definitely want to get that DUNS number. Your DUNS number, the application takes anywhere between 2 to 30 days. And then that's going to put you in a position to where you can now apply for net 30 accounts if you don't want to use your social, and you can generate that paydex score. Okay, so that paydex score is anywhere between 1 to 100. Okay, so these are the list of net 30s that we provide you and the information that you need, right? So it gives you the name, the contact, the website, as well as who they report to. So you see Global Voice only reports to Experian, right? And Credit Safe. But then you get the description of how you can qualify for it, right? And the terms, net 30. So this is just a list of resources for you guys to have when you are in this space and ready to go with building your business credit, okay? This is just one. So in the body of the email, I have for you guys a list of my top 10, 30 net 30 accounts that I recommend if you want to go in that route so that you can start generating that payday score. So you can go ahead and click on those links, and once you're ready, actually set up your accounts with those net 30 accounts. Okay. So with that being said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up the floor for any questions that you guys might have based off of the information that I went over today. So the first hand that I see is Steve. So, hey, Steve. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Okay, there you go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, no, just real, okay. All right, just real quickly, how do I get to the portal?
How do you get to the portal? Wait a minute. We on day 4 and you asking me how to get to, Lord, I'm getting crazy.
I'm sorry.
Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, Steve. So did you get your email with your login credentials? So I'm gonna tell you that sometimes it goes to spam. If you don't have my email saved, which is info@7waystowealth.com, then sometimes it will go to spam.
I looked in spam, but I didn't see it in spam.
You didn't see it? Okay, so you need your login credentials. It has the link, it has your email as your username, and it has a user-generated password that you then have to change to your custom password. So I'm gonna have the team, it's Campbell, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna have the team send you your login credentials right now.
Okay. And even with the link for today, it came to my message, but it didn't come to my email.
Did you get them for the rest of the week? You got day 1, 2, and 3?
I done the rest of the week, yeah, but today it just came to my message, but it didn't go to my email.
Okay. All right, I just sent a message to them, so you should be receiving your login credentials shortly, and it's gonna have the link. And you can just click on that link and it'll auto enroll you. But then you'll have your login credentials there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Awesome. Next we have Renetta. Wednesday. Hey, Renetta. About your relief options with Next Credit.
Hi.
Jen. Okay.
Yes.
Hey.
How can I find out what my business credit score is like now?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really, really, really good question. Okay, all right. You got me pulling out the woodworks over here. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing here. Okay, no problem. No problem whatsoever. Hold on for me 1 second. Let's see. Oh my God, I have so many windows open. It's just driving me nuts.
Don't let it do that.
I have open, you guys. Let's see here. Okay, let's see what we can do. All right. So What you need to do is you need to go, so you can do this two ways. So one, you need a NAV account. So go to nav.com, nav.com, okay? Or go ahead and click the link that I sent you in your email, okay? So
Okay.
now the second thing is you can quickly look it up on DNB as well, okay? DNB stands for Dun & Bradstreet. Somebody had asked that. This is the #1 or largest business credit bureau, okay? So what you want to do is you want to go to Dunn's number, and then you want to go to Dunn's number lookup. You'll go ahead and click there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down and you're going to go to Dunn's number. Let me see, Dunn's number lookup. So you're going to go ahead and click on that. And so now it's going to bring you to the Dunn's manager. And what you need to do is you need to go ahead and search your company. So even if you are not aware that you have a Dunn's profile, if you've been building business credit, then they already created one for you, right? So you're gonna go and put you know, the business name, right? And then you'll go ahead and put the address. So specifically you need like the EIN, I mean the zip code, right? And then you'll press search. Oh no, let's put a state. Okay. Let's put a
Okay.
state, and then you press search. Let me see. Okay, maybe that one. Okay.
I'm sure I can navigate. You told me where to go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me see.
Why you requesting it?
Yeah.
What you say?
Ask why you requesting it. What you want it, what you want it for?
Will come up, or in that zip code, right? So you
Okay.
should be able to find your business or see your business here. And then from there, you'll just click on it, and then they'll give you your DUNS number.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a corporation, a C Corp, that I already is waiting on my DUNS number. However, with my trust, do I need a different, because this business is the one I'm going to put with my business trust. Do I need another DUNS number, or the DUNS number that I have for the corporation that I'm going to put in the trust, do I need a different one?
So if you're just going to maintain the business credit that you have with the corporation, then you're fine. You're just going to continue to build on that business credit profile for your corporation. So if you're going to establish business credit for the business trust, then you are going to need a whole separate DUNS number and credit profile for the business trust. So a lot of people who already have these legal, statutory entities like LLCs and corporations, they just choose to maintain or build credit off of their off of the EIN for their LLCs and corporations. So if you already have credit, then you want to just continue to build on what you have already. So you don't have to necessarily pull your business trust into the public and start doing things commercially, which is building business credit for the business trust. You don't have to do that if you already have that foundation with your C Corp.
Correct. Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next we have Ramona.
Oh, y'all got me sidetracked with the DUNS number. I did find my company there, so I'm signing up. The question was, where was it? Oh, well, onto the DUNS thing. Is the scoring range the same as the personal credit?
No, so DUNS gives you a paydex score, and the score is between 1 to 100. So a good credit score for a business is 80 and above. Good
80
question.
and above. Okay.
So that's what you want. the 80. Go for the 80.
When you were going over the promissory note, I got confused somehow if it was for the borrower. Who is the borrower? Am I borrowing from my trust or someone's
No,
borrowing?
so you're lending to the trust. Remember, you're funding the trust and you want that money back from the trust. So if you're going to fund the trust with $1,000, the trust needs to pay you back and you have to set the terms on the promissory note. So the borrower is the trust and you are the lender.
The borrower, okay. And
The trust is borrowing, you know, if it's 1,000, the trust is borrowing $1,000 from you.
Can you give me an example? Like, why would I do that?
So in order for you to start your trust, you need to start with some type of funds.
Okay.
So do you want to gift it to the trust or do you want to lend it to the trust? So what we do is we do a lot of lending, right? So we lend to the trust pays us back. Or we borrow from the trust and then we pay back the trust. And so we have to document all that movement. And so the way that we do that is through using the promissory note as an instrument or a tool to keep proper documentation.
Okay, got it. Okay, the last question, this isn't necessarily from today, but I had it for yesterday. Is there a cap on donations into the nonprofit trust?
So the nonprofit trust can receive an unlimited amount of donations. As far as who is donating, that person is limited. So for example, if it's you in your personal name, your personal social security, and if it's your W-2 income, you're capped at 60%. If it's a corporation or any business entity, it's capped at 25%.
Okay, 25% for business. Okay, good to know. Okay, and then the grant cap was 5,000 before you have to switch it over to a 501(c)(3).
No, so that's reporting income. So if you are going to report income, donations are not income, tithes are not income, gifts are not income. Income is where those funds are sourced from somewhere else and you're labeling it as income. If you have income over 5,000, then you have to file taxes.
Okay, I switched over to grant. I think you mentioned there's a grant cap before you would have to make it a 501 and you would no longer follow, it would no longer be considered a 508. Did I have that note wrong?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So if I applied for a grant under a 508, is there a cap of how much money I can receive for grant money I can receive for that 508 to still be considered a faith-based?
No. So what I was saying yesterday was you can apply for nonprofit grants. There's no cap on how much funds can come into your FBO. So no, I didn't say that.
Okay. All right. I'll scratch that too. Okay. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Ramona. Next we have Dina.
Yes, just for clarification, the Dun and Brad, we can apply for that only after we have some business credit?
No,
Or-
that's the first thing. That's
Okay.
the first thing that you want to do, because a lot of these companies and banks will ask you for your DUNS number on your application. And so you can't even submit the application because you don't have a DUNS number.
All right, so it's before you go to the bank. You should already have that.
No, okay, so when you're saying before you go to the bank, what do you mean? So it's before you do credit applications with institutions that require you to have a DUNS number.
Oh, okay, before you go for credit.
Before you go to apply for credit, a lot of these creditors will ask you for your DUNS number.
before you go to apply for the credit. Okay, not after. Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Dina. All right, next we have Nicole. Oh my God, my throat is so dry. Jesus help me.
Miss, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
How are you, Nicole?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dang it, I forgot my question. Are you kidding me? Okay, but it is one thing that is coming to me. You might have said it in the last few days, but just a quick summary of each trust and what are their purpose.
Okay, so the business trust is for business purposes. So it's for individuals who are entrepreneurs and business owners. And what you can do is you can use it to conduct business. So you can offer products and services with the business trust. Or you can use it as a holding company so that it can own your existing businesses, which is your LLCs and your corporations. That is only for business purposes. The next trust is the family trust. The family trust is to hold your personal assets that are not related to nonprofit endeavors and that are not related to business endeavors. So that means that's going to hold your primary residence, your primary vehicle, your insurance policies, your furniture, your jewelry, and anything else that you consider an asset or something that has intrinsic value. That is what you're going to use to put your children as the beneficiaries. And then the last one is the nonprofit trust, which is the FBO, and that is for nonprofit endeavors, philanthropic endeavors, charitable endeavors. And so that is what you're going to use if you want to pour into the community and if you want to donate pretty much to your own organization and reduce your tax liabilities for the for-profit entities.
That was perfect. Thank you for that. And my last question is, when you get the EINs for the with the business trust, and if you use your trust as a holding company for other LLCs, would you have to or amend with the Secretary of State that the trust would be the owner of the LLCs as a holding company?
Yes, ma'am. So remember, you are legally the owner of your statutory entity, right? And so you want to remove yourself from the Secretary of State's website, from the public records as the owner or the authorized member, and you want to put the trust there. Tomorrow, we're going to focus on transferring assets, and I'm going to show you the step-by-step process that you would take in order to put your business trust into your company as the new owner.
Okay, all right. So tomorrow we'll see that. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Miss.
You are so welcome. Let me see, I'm getting confused here. Who's next? Is it Zelmir? Zelmir is next. And then we have Augustina.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you again for all this wonderful and great information. I have like three questions or so. I'll try to go quickly with them. The first one is when it comes to the EIN for the charity trust. And as far as the last video I seen you do, I think it was yesterday, you explained that you can actually apply for the EIN with the charity under a third party, meaning you don't have to have the grantor use their social to get, or the trustee. Is that what I understood, or was I'm
That's
not
true.
understanding
Yeah,
that correctly?
you can use, so there are third-party organizations that will apply for your EIN for you. So you have to do your research and choose a company. So they charge anywhere between like $200 and up in order to do that. So yes, Google it.
So I guess what I'm saying is the example you gave yesterday, you applied for the EIN, but it wasn't with the grantor's information, right? Was it with the trustee's information?
Oh, yeah, it was with the trustees' information. So for the FBO, you can use any member of the organization, any board of directors, any trustees,
Okay.
information, or the grantor's information for that
Okay,
specific.
perfect. Perfect. Thank you. And so number 2 was when opening a bank account for the for any of the trusts, can the grantor open the account and then put the trustee on there, give the trustee ability to have access and use the account, or should it only be opened by the trustee?
It should only be opened by the trustees.
Okay. Okay. And then let's see, number 3, so say you open your for your trust, you have a entity or an LLC as the trustee, acting as the trustee, and you are the member to that trustee. Can you also play a role in the trust as an individual, or is that not good because you're going to be signing kind of this your signature, even though you're signing as the member for the trustee, under an LLC, and then can like you as the individual play another role, like a secretary, just in your individual capacity?
You can.
You can? Okay, and that doesn't affect anything.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, perfect. And then lastly, when it comes to the credits, thank you. You're doing a great job answering these questions. Thank you. Appreciate it. So when it comes to the credit, is there certain like commercial accounts or like gas card accounts that you can apply for that will help build your credit, and you can like utilize, you can sign as a personal guarantee that'll help build your business credit faster?
Yeah, I wouldn't say faster, but there's a bunch of gas accounts, so definitely go to the resource that are provided in the email. So one of them is BP, right? I like BP. And I personally have an account with them. And with that one, you can be a personal guarantee, or if you don't want to put an inquiry on your personal credit, then you can provide them with a security deposit. The security deposit is $500, and they'll waive the requirement for you to be the personal guarantee, and then now you're able to get that. So you have to think about it this way, right? You now want to put yourself in a position to where you're building business credit off of things that you're already doing. So for example, with BP, right, you're already putting gas in your car. You're commuting from point A to point B. You might as well build business credit while you are doing that, right? So instead of you using your debit card, you can go ahead and get a BP account, and now you're able to use business credit. I think the account is like a net 30. I mean, excuse me, I think it's a net 15. So every 15 days. So that means that they are going to give you the product or service, right? So obviously it's a service. And then you use it, and then you have 15 days in order to pay them back. So you might as well be building business credit off of things that you're already doing.
Okay. The reason I asked is because I've done it under a C Corp and an LLC before, where I was able to apply for these even with a startup. Like I utilize Fuelman. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're called Fuelman. They're a gas company, but they're really good. I end up getting like a $6,000 credit line for my business, but they have the options. I didn't know if it was the same with the trust. Like if you're doing it under the trust.
It's the same. There is no difference. They're going to give you the same line of credit because they're giving you a line of credit on your EIN.
Got you. Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. And that was it. That was all my questions. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. All right, next we have Augustina. Hi, Augustina. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Nice to see you, beautiful woman.
I know. So thank you for all the wonderful information. I've dabbled into trusts in the past. However, this is the most detailed information and explanation of the trust and how to go about setting everything up. I do have one question. So within my family, we have two LLCs. One is my husband and I are both members on that one, and the other one I am the only member. So I was wondering, with the business trust, can both of these go into that one business trust?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
can the business trust own both of them?
Yes, the business trust can own both entities. The business trust can own an unlimited amount of entities. The only thing that I want you to take into consideration is the type of industry that you are in and how liable the business trust has to be for that industry. So one example that I love to give is a really high liability business is like a trucking company, right? A trucking company is pretty much dangerous, right? You have these big 18-wheelers on the road, they could turn over and then you can get a lawsuit overnight. And so you don't want your business trust to own the trucking company, but then also you have other multiple businesses like an e-com or a restaurant or or a real estate company under the same company that you have a really high liability business. Healthcare is high liability. A lot of people like to sue their healthcare providers. So those types of businesses, even real estate, I personally don't agree that real estate is super high liability, but it is, right? A lot of tenants and stuff and other people, they like to sue when it comes to real estate. So those are
Right.
high liability businesses. You don't want that business to be under the same business trust as a low liability business. So it just depends on the nature of your business. But yes, you can have multiple businesses under one business trust.
Okay, yeah, because well, it's probably better if I do two different trusts because one is just dealing with real estate and the other one is I'm a licensed clinical social worker and I'm doing some consulting, etc. And so I think that maybe I need to do two business trusts and put
Yeah.
them in different, yeah.
Yeah, just always be in that mind frame that you need multiple trusts in your structure. That's just
Right.
one thing that's for sure. You never, ever, ever, ever want to put all of your assets in one trust.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Makes
All
sense.
right, awesome. Okay, any other last questions? Miss Sonia, I see that you are off mute, or do you have a question?
I'm good.
Okay,
So
perfect.
can
All right. We are
I
going
have a
to wrap it
question.
up. Oh yeah,
I
who
have a
is it? Who?
question. Hi, it's Anise.
Hi, Anise.
Hi. So I saw we did an EIN number and we did it and it ended up giving us a 99 number. I just want clarification on 98 EINs and 99s. Is a trust required to have only 98? And sorry, clarify that for me.
Oh yeah, no problem. A 98 and so your regular EINs, they can start with any number. So like my EINs, they start with 87, right? Some of them. So right now the IRS is in the 99 phase, right? So a couple years ago, they were giving 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. So they're just going on and on, right? So right now they're in that phase that if you're applying now, your EIN starts with a 99, right? So, and it's kind of just like with a social security too. It's like wherever region that you're in and you apply for that number, they give you like the same, it starts with the same digit. So what we're doing is the difference between the application that we did is we did an SS4, and we did it for a domestic entity, which is the trust, and they gave us that EIN. A 98 is for a foreign entity. So you can only get a 98 number if you have a foreign address. So meaning that you have a foreign grantor. So that means that whoever set up the trust, they don't live here in the United States. And so you're using a foreign address. Everything is like international, whatever. So that is the major difference. Another thing is that the 98, you have to actually physically do the SS4 and you have to call in and then they'll determine if you're eligible and then they'll issue you a 98 number. So a trust can go the traditional route or a trust can also go the 98 route if you qualify for a 98. So if you don't have a foreign address, then they're going to deny your application.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Ayo. Is it Ayo or Ayo? Do you have a question? I see your hand up. I cannot hear you if you're talking. Is it Ayo? All right. Any other last questions, comments, or concerns? I'm going to wrap up our workshop for today, and I have a lot planned for you guys for tomorrow. All right, perfect. So thank you guys so much for being here. We are going to wrap up day 4 of the Wealthy Trustee Workshop. So today we went over a lot of information. Sule, you have a question?
Yes. Oh, I signed up for the Facebook page and it's still pending. So my
Okay.
Facebook email is different, but I put in my
Oh,
original email address that I used to register, and it's still showing pending. That's all.
what is your name on Facebook?
Maybe Makobamy.
K-O-B-A-M-Y.
Yes.
On Facebook. All right, so I sent a message to Ika, so she'll go ahead and process that, okay?
Thank you very much.
Hello. Sorry, can you
Huh?
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, awesome. I'm so sorry. I was having issue with my audio.
Yeah.
First and foremost, yeah, it's Aya, by the way. First and
How is it?
Ayo. It's pronounced
Ayo.
Aya. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much, by the way, for everything. You've been wonderful, and this course actually is definitely worth it. It's worth whatever it is that we all basically, sacrifice for it. So my question actually is, there's one thing I need to understand. I've actually been doing quite a lot of research, but I just want to understand this, and I was hoping maybe you can actually, split everything into pieces again before you leave. I know you've spent too much time. The question is, normally the grantor needs to be different, but when it comes to irrevocable trust, and you can't find a grantor, who can you use as a grantor?
That's a good question. So you can either use an entity as the grantor. So that's one option that a lot of people do. The other option is that we actually, in our program, we have a directory of individuals who have volunteered to serve as grantors for others. So we have a list of grantors, and we send out the list periodically. So it's like sent out every 2 weeks. But we're also going to list the directory in our Telegram chat. And so that's going to put you in a position to where you can then reach out to the member so that they could serve as your grantor for you. Okay. But if you don't have access to a grantor, then those will be your other options, because you need a grantor. You cannot set up the trust without a grantor. So you can either use an entity, or you can work in-house within our volunteers. If you cannot find anyone, eligible grantors are anyone who is willing to be your the creator on paper. Okay, so that could be a friend, a family, a neighbor, anyone that is at least 18 years or older, and they have to be able to notarize the trust for you in order to serve as your grantor, and apply for the EIN number for the trust. So those are the things that would need to happen in order for that person to qualify as your grantor. So our community members know the process, and that's why they've volunteered.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. All right.
Cheers.
Nicole, you have a question?
Yeah, you just made me think of something. So if we have someone that we don't know, but does step in as the grantor, how do you arrange for whatever? Doesn't the grantor have to what is the word? Give a contribution to the trust when you first open it?
Right, yeah, so it's on paper. So it's on paper. So they don't physically have to give you the $100 or the $1. Or if you want, you can give them the $1 for them to give it right back to you. So you're documenting on paper that they made that initial consideration.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, guys, so we are going to wrap it up. So tomorrow, I do have homework for you guys. So the homework is that we are, tomorrow we're going to be focused on the transferring assets, okay? So there's two things that I want you to do. So the first thing is I want you to work on the asset inventory list. So you should have received it in your welcome email, your day one email, the asset inventory list. So tomorrow we are going to be focused on that. So that is your homework. So work on the asset inventory list so that tomorrow you are fully aware of what assets you're going to put inside of the trust, okay? The second piece of homework is that is for you to book your consultation with CEO Dorsey, with Brian Dorsey and his team, so that you can get the ball rolling when it comes to you getting funding, okay? So a lot of us were like, oh, well, my credit is not up to par. Well, go ahead and get into his system and his database, because they actually help you repair your credit and get it up to par so that you can get the funding, okay? So that is your two pieces of homework. Now, tomorrow we're going to focus on the agenda for tomorrow is transferring assets and infinite banking. So we are going to focus tomorrow on one, we're going to apply for the EIN for a private family trust. The second thing we're going to do is we are going to go through the quick claim deeds so that we can deed over real estate to our trust. The third thing that we're going to do is we're going to work on the bill of sale for vehicles so that you can know that process of what it takes to put a car into a trust. The third thing that we're going to do is or the fourth thing that we're going to do is we are going to work on the business purchase agreement so that we can put our business into the business trust. And then I'll show you what the process looks like to do amendments with the Secretary of State. And then the last thing after we're done transferring assets is we're going to learn about infinite banking. So we have our industry expert who's going to come in she has 13 years of experience in the insurance space. And so she's going to come in and educate us very thoroughly. Remember, I bring the best of the best. So she's going to come in and educate us on cash value life insurance policies, how to eliminate your debt, how to build wealth with this type of policy, what the numbers actually looks like. She's going to break down the process step by step so that you can actually have your trust be the owner of your policy, the payer of the premiums, and the beneficiary of your policy. So she's going to show us that entire process very nicely. So that is the agenda for tomorrow. So we're going to meet here tomorrow on Zoom at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You are going to receive an email with the Zoom link and resources and templates that you're going to need for tomorrow. So I will see you here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Everyone have a blessed and amazing day. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you. You as
Bye.
well.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank